Okay, I am in the right one. Let me just get to, not that. Okay. Here. Hi, Shelley Jo. Hi, Julianne. Hi, Ann Rose. Hi, Kevin Leonard. Hi, Barb Olson. Let's see. Al, Linda. And Rose, Julianne Gonzalez.
Okay. Oh.
Shelley Jo, I got you. Oh, make sure you're in live chat. Okay. So, a few things, and then headlines. Hi, Julie W. Is that, and Heart Made Wise, you were coming on just as I was going live, so that's why I just clicked it off, because I'm going to probably start a new Zoom, and then I'll let people on the panel. I was actually going to think of doing a new Zoom when I go live, and that way it'll be fresh, and I can take people on panel afterwards. So maybe we'll start doing that as of tomorrow, and it'll be easier. But that's why you're welcome to come on after we're done here. That'll be fine. So let me go to our story. So, hey, thank you, Al. Appreciate that. Thank you. All right. So we have the first story is about a Texas 13-year-old that was found. I hear some background noise. Is that anybody here? Let me just see what's going on here, because I hear something going on here, like a TV or something playing. Just gonna mute that just to make sure. Okay, so there was a 13-year-old girl who was missing from Texas, and she was found in North Carolina in some man's shed in the backyard, and he was using her for his sexual servitude. Now, let me go over here. We're in the middle of a big storm too, so if you hear the weather on, that's what that is all about. It's pretty bad. Pretty bad. Now I just put that right over here, and I had everything ready to go. And I have those. Maybe I should just go into, what did I do with my thing? All right, we'll talk about the girl in 1 second. Let's talk about the woman that was killed in Florida by someone she met on the internet. And then we'll go to the other thing. By process of elimination, my information. So the woman there is Nancy Howery. She was 44 years old. And on February 18th, her ex-husband reported her missing in Indian Harbor Beach, Florida. He reported her missing after she missed picking up her children from school. So he reported her missing to the Brevard County Sheriff's Office. The next day, February 19th, her Honda Odyssey van was found abandoned on the side of a road. Dogs searched the area, but they were unable to get a scent or locate her. Investigators determined the last time that she was seen alive by anyone was February 15th, which was 3 days before she was reported missing by her husband, and that was when she was visiting a friend in Palm Bay. The friend went in, spoke with investigators, and said that she knew that Nancy was supposed to go meet up with her boyfriend, and Daniel Stearns, who's 32 years old, on that day, that February 15th. She met him on a social media site. Investigators say the couple got into an argument on that same day, February 15th, and this boyfriend she met on the internet allegedly shot and killed her. But that's not all that he did. After he killed her, he allegedly dismembered her body, and then he burned her body. And over the next few days, he went around burying these remains in different places all around. Now, the sheriff's office said they interviewed him, and he was considered a prime suspect after he allegedly showed signs of deception. Officials said investigators followed him to an area in Palm Bay which was known as the compound, and they determined that he was carrying a body that appeared to be burned. Investigators searched the area and discovered human remains. They sent that out to the forensics for further testing, and he eventually confessed to killing Nancy Howery, burning her remains, and then trying to bury her body. They got a search warrant for his house. Investigators recovered multiple firearms, and while authorities have not positively ID'd the remains yet, they believe the body belongs to Nancy Howery based on Stern's confession and the evidence that was collected in connection with the case. So he was booked into the Brevard County Jail on March 9th without bond and charged with second-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and the abuse of a dead human body. So very sad. This mother gone now. Kids without a mom because she met this guy, and for some reason he has an argument and he shoots and kills her. So be careful out there. We'll follow this up with anything that happens, but sad story there. Okay. And the next story is, I know I have it here somewhere. Hold on one second. Okay, we're going to go now to the story about the 13-year-old. So I'm going to put a picture of the sheds up here. Okay. So if you notice back here, he's got kind of a chair out here, multiple sheds out in the back, and law enforcement rescued a missing 13-year-old girl from a locked shed in Lexington, North Carolina. And they went there because they got a tip about her. Davidson County Sheriff Richie Simmons said his office received a tip from FBI Violent Crimes Task Force about a minor who had been abducted from Dallas, Texas. Officials were able to locate the missing girl. This almost sounds like the Dugard story, but she was older, I think, in an externally locked shed behind a home in Lexington, North Carolina. And I still do want to read that book in a book club for Patreons and members. Simmons said that George Camacho, 34, used a social media messenger to lure the girl from her home to his car. The content of that chat was consistent with grooming and enticement, and he enticed her to actually leave her home, where he picked her up in the area. The timeline of the abduction is not clear as of yet. The investigation's ongoing, but authorities said they were able to use camera activity to determine the make and model of the vehicle associated with the abduction and the suspect's identity within 10 minutes of getting the tip. Pretty good work. Authorities searched Camacho's home, where they found the abducted girl in a shed behind the house. According to the Davidson, North Carolina records, Camacho was booked into the Davidson County Jail on Saturday. He's been charged with multiple offenses, including child abduction and human trafficking, and he's being held on $1.2 million bond. Simmons said, "I thank God that we were able to find this young girl. It may not be that case forever, noting that his office had investigated a concerning number of similar cases. More than 2,100 people were referred to federal authorities for human trafficking offenses in 2020. And that's a 62% increase in referrals since 2011. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children says 365,348 children were missing in 2020, which estimates I know that you're trying to get in, but I'm going to just wait until we're done with this, okay? We are live. I don't know if maybe you don't realize that we're live. They were missing in 2020, with estimates suggesting that 30% of those missing were actively trafficked. Simmons says parents should be mindful of their children's social media activity, given the potential susceptibility to bad actors. We've had to do this so many times, it's crazy, and that's why we're pleading with parents. Okay, so thank goodness she was found, but who knows, what she's going to deal with the rest of her life because of that horror. Okay, so let's go now to our next story, which is the romance scammer. Okay, so let's grab something here. 1 second. Oops, hold on. Okay. Let's put up our graphic. All right. So a New York man was indicted on multiple charges for allegedly scamming more than $1.8 million from several women he met on dating apps. Now, just one of those women in Connecticut, he scammed $500,000 from. Nelson Coon, 69 years old, told at least 5 women that he was a wealthy, retired art dealer and investor with homes in New York City, London, and France. The Manhattan District Attorney, Alvin Bragg, said this in his statement and said, in reality, the man has never traveled outside the United States. He doesn't even have a passport. And I quote him saying he allegedly fed lie after lie to women he falsely claimed to have a romantic interest in, enticing them with investment opportunities that never existed while using their funds to repay past victims, lure in new ones, and fund his lifestyle. We've heard this before, right? About them getting money and they're making investments or they're paying other people back. Yeah. Nelson used the names Nelson Roth and Justin Roth during his alleged scheme. Under these aliases, he told the women about investment opportunities that he said were in a gray area between legal and illegal. He implied that he had inside information on certain occasions. Between December of 2012 and January of 2021, Nelson allegedly convinced the women to invest with him. And noting that during that time, Nelson's sole source of income for the past 8 years was money that he swindled. Nelson would ask the women for an initial investment, and then once the money was secured, he would continue to ask for more. We heard about this in other scams. Nelson explained his need for more money by telling some of the women his accounts were frozen or that his personal funds were tied up in other investments, according to the district attorney. But he promised the women they'd be repaid and make a substantial profit when they're repaid. Nelson did not invest the money, but instead allegedly used it to make himself seem wealthy to new victims. In some cases, it was used to repay previous victims who had figured out they were being scammed. Nelson is facing charges of scheme to defraud in the first degree, grand larceny in the second degree, and grand larceny in the third degree. Now, across the United States, around 24,000 people lost about $1 billion to romance scams like this. That's according to an FBI report. The scammer's intention is to establish a relationship with their victim as quickly as possible to make himself endearing to them, gain their trust. Now, the FBI has a resource page, and I'm going to pull that up. Okay, and we're going to take a look at that in just a second, but I'm going to put that over here, so we're going to go over that in 1 minute. Scammers may propose marriage, make plans to meet in person, but that will never happen. Eventually, they'll ask for money. In one recent instance, a woman lost $390,000 in an online crypto dating scam. In another case, a man known as the Tinder swindler, and we watched that movie, documentary, is accused of defrauding victims out of $10 million using a similar scam as the one that Nelson is accused of. So, let me just go to this other thing I have here. Okay, now this is what you see. We're going to look at a specific case about this Nelson guy. So in Greenwich, Connecticut, and Greenwich is a very, if you're not familiar with it, is a very, very affluent area. So Nelson took advantage of a 75-year-old Greenwich woman. And it's alleged that he stole $500,000 from her. He, like we just went over, he had a history of romancing older women, persuading them to give him large amounts of money for business deals that never materialized. And he was running those scams in New York, but now they've connected him to this scam in Greenwich, Connecticut. His practice of meeting older women and romancing them at swanky Manhattan bars and restaurants, like a bar in the Carlisle Hotel, was something he did often. And he cites his visits to Greenwich, where he was seen with a martini in hand at an outdoor restaurant chatting with fellow diners. Greenwich police say they were sent a copy of an article as part of their investigation. Greenwich police were first contacted about Nelson by a local woman in March of 2021 and her dealings with the suspected swindler, who was using the name Nelson Roth. According to the arrest warrant application in the State Superior Court in Stamford, Connecticut, the woman told police she had given him $75,000, and he said that he would return her investment 10 times that amount she had provided. It was a promise that Nelson had used before, and the prosecutors in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office had convicted Nelson previously on charges of grand larceny in 2004 and 2008. The Greenwich woman later stopped cooperating with Greenwich police and stated that she and Nelson were in a romantic relationship. The two got married in Virginia in 2021. At that time, a Greenwich detective contacted the Manhattan DA's office, and a prosecutor there told him the investigations were continuing against Nelson, with a total loss reported by the victims nearing $1 million at that time. The Manhattan DA told the Greenwich detective that Nelson had no source of income, and they could find no commercial licensing or business activity of any kind for him, because his whole business was swindling older women. That was his business. That was his income. He had no other work history. There was nothing. The case was reopened in September of 2021 when the woman reached out to police saying she was fearful for her physical safety and that she had given Nelson a total of $500,000. The woman said she was always in fear. They got a search warrant, and they discovered that Nelson had spent thousands of dollars at restaurants as well as paying off personal bills. Records show Nelson has been accused of or the victim of criminal violence before. He was charged with and acquitted of second-degree murder at the age of 34 in 1980, and that was for shooting a jeweler in Queens. He was charged with assault in Greenwich, Connecticut in June of 2020 for allegedly striking a woman in a car. That charge was later dropped. Nelson was the victim of a shooting in 1990 when a gunman shot him twice in the chest on the East 80th Street. A police spokesperson said at the time the shooting appeared to be a hit, according to the account of the attack. No one was ever charged in the shooting. Now, isn't that weird? Because he was, he was acquitted of second-degree murder in the 1980s. Now, why he was acquitted, we don't know yet there. They didn't give us any details on that. But then just 10 years later, then he's shot. His father, Jack Boone, was allegedly involved in high-stakes gambling, an operation in Manhattan that he had. He was arrested in 1970 on gambling charges, and he was later murdered in 1975 in his Manhattan apartment. So it looks like he comes from a line of this. Now, Nelson was already being detained in the Rikers Island lockup when he was picked up by Greenwich police on September 16th, and he was later booked in Greenwich on a charge of first-degree larceny, a felony. He is currently in Connecticut state custody in lieu of a $150,000 bond. His next court date was then for that woman, that was this past November. But now he is facing more charges with the Manhattan DA. So let's see when his next court date is going to be for that. Let's see here. Nelson. What is Nelson? Let's see. Got that. He faces several charges. I don't say when he's next to. Let's see. 7 hours ago, the DA announced his indictment. Let's read this here from the DA's press release. So this is the press release from the DA, and then we'll go over that other stuff. Manhattan District Attorney Alvin L. Bragg Jr. today announced the indictment of Nelson Kuhn, 69, a.k.a. Nelson Roth, a.k.a. Justin Roth, for stealing more than $1.8 million from 5 women through a series of romance and investment scams. Kuhn is charged with in a New York Supreme Court indictment with scheme to defraud in the first degree, 2 counts of grand larceny in the second degree, and grand larceny in the third degree. As alleged, Nelson's sole source of income for the past 8 years was money that he swindled, said District Attorney Bragg. He allegedly fed lie after lie to women he falsely claimed to have a romantic interest in, enticing them with investment opportunities that never existed while using their funds to repay past victims, lure in new ones, and fund his lifestyle. We urge everyone to exercise caution when told there's an investment opportunity that seems too good to be true. If you or someone you know has been the victim of a scam, we're here to help. Call us at 212-335-8900. According to court documents and statements made on the court record between December 12th of 2012 and January 22nd of 2021, Nelson stole more than $1.8 million from at least 5 women using the same romance and investment scam. Nelson met most of the victims using online dating applications under the alias Nelson Roth, Justin Roth. He purported to be an independently wealthy retired art dealer and investor with homes in London, Manhattan, and the south of France. He presented each of the victims with a supposed investment opportunity. He refused to provide details, sometimes telling the women that the investment existed in a gray area between legal and illegal, and sometimes hinting he had access to inside information. Among the purported investments Nelson claimed he could access were Alibaba, as the company prepared to become publicly traded, and a startup company purportedly run by Nelson and a former Google executive, which would provide an online lottery that potential college students could pay to enter for a chance to win tuition coverage. Most of the victims were initially hesitant, but Nelson persisted until each agreed to invest. After the initial investment, Nelson sought additional financial support from each of the victims. He justified these requests by saying that the additional money was needed for investment-related expenses, such as paying fixers to ensure that the deals were completed and paying salaries and housing costs to the staff of the tech startup. Nelson claimed that his funds were tied up in investments or that his accounts were frozen due to U.S. and European investigations into his financial activities. He promised to repay each of the victims their initial investment plus a substantial profit within a few weeks. Ultimately, almost all of Nelson's claims were false. Not only did he not own homes in London and the south of France, he has never traveled internationally and doesn't even have a passport. He was not independently wealthy, and the only funds in his accounts were from victims of his romance scams. Instead of being invested, the victims' funds were used to make Nelson appear wealthy to new victims and to repay previous victims who had detected his fraud. Assistant DA's Coffee Sansculati, Chief of the Financial Frauds Bureau, and Raymond Costello, Counsel to Civil Litigation Unit, are handling the prosecution of this case under the supervision of Executive Assistant DA Susan Hoffinger, who's the Chief of the Investigation Division. Senior Rackets Investigator Thomas Mullen and former Rackets Investigator Daniel Schoenfeld provided assistance with the investigation under the supervision of the Assistant Chief Investigator Michael Wigdor, Assistant Chief of the Investigation Bureau Jonathan Reed, and Chief Investigator Walter Alexander, Senior Financial Investigator Lana Wong, Trial Preparation Assistant Shamar Walker, and Discovery Analyst Rebecca Singh also assisted with the investigation. The Forensic Accounting and the Financial Investigations Bureau also provided valuable assistance, including forensic accountant investigator William Martin, under the supervision of Irene Serapika, the Deputy Chief of FAFI, and Robert Demrest, Chief of FAFI. And that is the press release regarding the defendant information. For Nelson Kuhn, his charges are grand larceny in second degree, Class C felony 2 counts, grand larceny in the third degree, Class D felony 1 count, scheme to defraud in the first degree, Class E felony 1 count. Okay, so that's that. Now let's look at what did I do with the, let me get the other thing that we're going to look at from the FBI. Come over here, little FBI. Can't get my mouse to move on this thing. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Nope, that's not my FBI. Where's my FBI? My FBI must be here, right here. Okay. Romance scams occur when a criminal adopts a fake online identity to gain a victim's affection and trust. The scammer then uses the illusion of a romantic or close relationship to manipulate and or steal from the victim. The criminals who carry out romance scams are experts at what they do and will seem genuine, caring, and believable. Con artists are present on most dating and social media sites. The scammer's intention is to establish a relationship as quickly as possible, to endear himself to the victim and gain trust. Scammers may propose marriage and make plans to meet in person, but that will never happen. Eventually, they will ask for money. Scam artists often say they are in the building and construction industry and they are engaged in products outside of the U.S. That makes it easier to avoid meeting in person. Well, in Nelson's case, that wasn't true. He met these people in person. He even married one of them. So that's not totally true at all. And more plausible when they ask for money for a medical emergency or an unexpected legal fee. If someone you meet online needs your bank account information to deposit money, they are most likely using your account to carry out theft and fraud schemes. If you suspect an online relationship is a scam, stop all contact immediately. If you are the victim of a romance scam, file a complaint with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. That's an IC3. Here's some tips for avoiding romance scams. Be careful what you post and make public online. Scammers can use details shared on social media and dating sites to better understand and target you. Research the person's photo and profile using online searches to see if the image, name, or details have been used somewhere else. Now, do you know how to do that? So if you have the person's photo, you can right-click with your mouse. If you're on a computer or on a laptop, or your touchpad, if you're using that, you right-click, and there will be a drop-down. It will say search with Google Lens. And then if you just click with your mouse, it will make a box around the picture. I can show you if we had a picture here. Let me see here. Okay, let's see. Let's see if it'll do it here. Search images with Google. They finally stopped that Google Lens thing. Okay, so you would click on that, and then if you were going to click, let's just say we wanted to look at that. What will happen is then it will bring up, say this was a guy, and then you're like, oh, look, he's on Tinder, Match.com, whatever it is, and you would see them. So that's what they're telling you to do. That's what the FBI is telling you to do if you're dating someone, to check them out. Okay. Research the person's photo and profile using online searches to see if the image, name, or details have been used elsewhere. Go slowly and ask lots of questions. I'm just trying to pull up the live stream so I can see it. Beware if the individual seems too perfect or quickly asks you to leave a dating service or social media site to communicate directly with you. Beware if the individual attempts to isolate you from friends and family or requests inappropriate photos or your financial information that could later be used to extort you. Beware if the individual promises to meet in person, but then always comes up with an excuse why he or she can't. If you haven't met the person after a few months for whatever the reason, you have a good reason to be suspicious. Never send money to anyone you have only communicated with online or by phone. So if you want to go, I will put this resource in the chat, and you can later go on if you're interested in this and you want to check it out. It is from the FBI, and you can check it out, and there are some stories, some audio stories of people that were swindled. These are FBI. Okay, and you can listen to them. Part of me thinks that he's going to come through and pay me back what he owes me. And this one says, Special Agent Christine Benning describes her romance. From what we can tell, these are usually criminal organizations that work together. She's a special agent with the FBI in Houston. So you could go listen to those. And then there are public resource announcements, money meals, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, if you bookmark that, and so you can go back and you can go and listen to this one. A scam victim tells her story. So you can listen to those if you'd like to later. And hopefully keep yourself safe. Okay. Now. Hi, little lady. Hi, Deborah Vancouver Den. Hi, Julie W. Hi, Barb Olson. Hi, Jeannie's talking about life. Hi, Debbie L. And Rose. Hi, 61. Hi, Emmy. Linda. Sorry if I missed anybody. Okay, so I think we did the missing girl. We did the scammers, and we did, what was our other one? Don't even tell me, because I want to make sure that I remember. The woman that was killed in Florida. Okay, let's see what else is going on with anything right now. Now they're unable to, that truck terrorist is spared the death penalty. The one in New York that ran over and killed the people. So the jury agreed on a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. And it was Sifulo Sapov. And that's for the Halloween 2017 terror attack in New York City that killed 8 people when he drove that van into them. After beginning deliberations on March 8th, jurors had begun anew the following day after a distraught juror was excused after informing the court that his brother had suffered a heart attack. The defense moved for a mistrial, invoking a strict interpretation of the federal death penalty statute that says the sentence must be put before the jury that determined the defendant's guilt, which the judge denied. An alternate was added to the jury for final deliberations. There are 3 or 4 circuit courts that have considered this issue and found the courts can use an alternate even if they haven't sat in the trial phase. Judge Vernon Broderick said. Minutes after starting their deliberations on March 8th, jurors sent a note to the judge asking if they could discuss that the current method of execution for federal inmates is lethal injection, and they also asked if they could mention the current moratorium on execution by Attorney General Merrick Garland. In response, Judge Broderick instructed jurors to disregard both lethal injection and the president's death penalty moratorium, saying they were not proper considerations for the jury's deliberations. All federal executions since at least 1963 have been carried out by lethal injection. Garland announced a moratorium on executions in September of 2021 so officials could renew policies and procedures, though has upheld decisions of the prior administration to pursue the death penalty for Sapov. Charleston church shooter Dylan Roof and Boston Marathon bomber Zokhar Sarnaev. I know I butchered that. During closing arguments last week, Assistant U.S. Attorney Amanda Houle told the jury that Sapov deserved the death penalty for his unremorseful slaughter of innocent civilians. And I quote her saying, "Murder is always terrible, but when the defendant made the choice to murder people, he exposed himself to a harsher punishment. He stole 8 lives." Meanwhile, David Patton, the defense attorney, told jurors they face an awesome responsibility and power, and they should spare Sapov the death penalty and let him die in obscurity, not as a hero, not as a martyr. And I quote the defense attorney saying, "It is not necessary to kill Sapov, not for our safety or anyone else's, and not to do justice. In this case, we are asking you to decide that meeting death with more death is not the answer." A death sentence for Sapov, a citizen of Uzbekistan, would have been the first by a federal jury in New York in decades. Federal juries in Brooklyn approved a death sentence for a man who murdered 2 New York police detectives in 2007 and 2013, but both sentences were tossed out on appeal. The last time the death penalty was carried out in New York federal case was in 1953 when husband and wife Julius and Ethel Rosenberg were executed after being convicted of conspiracy to commit espionage for the Soviet Union during the Cold War. And Gwyneth Paltrow wants you to know that, didn't even know there was such a thing, rectal ozone therapy has been very helpful for her. Yeah, she says she has used that therapy, the 50-year-old Oscar winner, and she said it's pretty weird. It's pretty weird, yeah, but it's been very helpful. The benefits of rectal ozone therapy are said to be reduced pain and inflammation, increased energy, improved metabolism and circulation, stimulated immune system, detoxification, anti-aging, and it fights bacterial and viral infections. Okay. She also has other wellness regimes, such as consuming ketone drinks, which someone that tasted said tastes like cherry gasoline. Okay. Is anybody going to look that up? You want to try some of that? Let's see. Rectal ozone therapy. Where would one even go for that? Rectal ozone therapy. Official website. Medical ozone generators. There, you can get one for home use. Everything you need to get started with it. What was that? Okay. Someone zippering something? We're having some issues. Okay, and if you're looking for a kit to get started, well, this is what you're looking at spending. It's just, $17, $18, $100, $2,000. And you can do it in the privacy of your home. What the heck? So, yeah. Who's going to sign up for that? Gwyneth Paltrow says it's good. Anybody? Justina? Cheap, yes, boxing. Boxing MMA. Welcome. You looked it up, Kevin? Not for you? Okay. You remember what from King of Queens? What was King of Queens? They talked about this on King of Queens? Coffee, yeah, well, we talked about the coffee. Remember? Hi, Liz Tops. I think... When you said rectal, I thought, no thanks. She says it's very good. You remember that talk, yeah? Yeah. Really a good time there. Okay, and then let's see what else we have. Okay. I don't know how we got on Gwyneth Paltrow. There's something else I was going to get. Okay. So let's see. There's something more about the banks saying that victims were targeted after withdrawing cash at banks. And they show a video on Inside Edition of a woman that is grabbed and then punched to the ground by an attacker in the middle of a shopping center. For the wad of cash that she had just taken out of a bank. And that type of crime is called jugging. And police say it's a growing trend in Houston, Texas. In another recent case, a 74-year-old woman's purse was snatched. Let's see. So, if you're coming out of a bank, be careful because it could be a jugging. Joking. Let's see. Anything else? And that woman was left paralyzed in that video. She was a young woman too that was slammed to the ground. She's left paralyzed. And the jugging. See what else. Okay. I think that's about it for that. Now let's look at the storm. Let me tell you about a little bit of the storm that we're facing. So, a little bit more of the storm. Okay. Uh-oh, what is all that noise? You there, Nicole? Nicole?
I'm here.
Oh, okay, because I don't know what's going on. You're not getting a storm. Nicole and I are getting a storm. You're not.
We're getting some snow, but it's not like what you're going to get.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
That's great.
I feel bad for you guys. It's
All
going
right,
to be
so
ugly.
let's see what the storm is going to be like in New York State. Okay. Winter storm warning remains. Our school is already closed, okay? In effect until 8 a.m. Governor Hochul, that's the governor of New York, to declare a state of emergency ahead of major nor'easter forecast to impact upstate regions. Threat of widespread power outages in impacted areas due to heavy, wet snow and gusty wind. Hazardous travel conditions expected from Monday evening through Wednesday morning. The governor deploys additional state agency personnel and assists to impacted regions, activates New York's National Guard in the advance of a storm to assist the state's response in Capital and Mid-Hudson regions. Beginning 8 p.m. Monday night, all tandem and empty tractor trailers are banned from I-87, that's the thruway, exit 17 to I-90, exit 36, in the length of the Berkshire Spur from I-87 to exit 21B to the Massachusetts border. Similar restrictions will be in effect on additional interstates. The governor advises no unnecessary travel in impacted regions, particularly on Tuesday when visibility will be extremely limited. I'm surprised the stores were not even more crowded yesterday when we went in there, because that was with the storm like this, it's going to be like 3 days, and they already canceled school, like I said, so it's weird. I don't know what is going on with my Target. Crazy. Okay. Let's see what else they said. The governor will declare a state of emergency that goes into effect at 8 p.m. on Monday and includes Albany, Broome, Cayuga, Chenango, these are the counties in New York State, Columbia, Cortland, Delaware, Dutchess, Essex, Fulton, Greene, Hamilton, Herkimer, Lewis, Madison, Montgomery, Oneida, Onondaga, Ontario, Orange, Oswego, Otsego, Putnam, Rensselaer, Saratoga, Schenectady, Scolari, Schuyler, Seneca, Sullivan, Tioga, Tompkins, Ulster, Warren, Washington, Wayne, and Yates, and contiguous counties. My county's in there, so I'm in a state of emergency. New Yorkers should prepare now for a multi-day event that will bring up to 3 feet of snow in certain parts of the Capital Region and the Mid-Hudson region. State agencies spent the weekend preparing emergency response assets. The governor's team is in constant contact with local officials, and we have activated the National Guard to assist with emergency response. The storm will create hazardous road conditions throughout Wednesday morning, and I encourage New Yorkers in impacted regions to stay home and avoid any unnecessary travel to allow plow crews to do their job. Let's see here. The Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Services activated Monday morning to further coordinate the state's response to the weather event. The division is prepared to deploy the following assets and shelter supplies from the state stockpiles if necessary: 1,489 generators, 536 chainsaws, 964 portable heaters, 39,948 MREs, 552,260 bottles and cans of water, 9,105 cots, 9,641 blankets, 11,220 pillows. I hope we don't lose power. I really do hope we don't lose power. So let's see. Let's see what's going on in Massachusetts. Okay, for Massachusetts, says the, make this a little larger so it's not. A winter storm warning has been issued for most of Massachusetts ahead of a long duration nor'easter that could dump up to 18 inches of snow in some areas beginning Monday night. The northern Worcester, eastern Franklin, northwest Middlesex, central Middlesex, southern Worcester, western Essex, western Franklin, western Hampden, western Hampshire, northern Berkshire, southern Berkshire counties are all under a winter storm warning from 8 p.m. Monday through 8 p.m. Wednesday. Eastern Essex, eastern Norfolk, northern Bristol, southeast Middlesex, Suffolk, western Norfolk, western Plymouth, eastern Hampden, and eastern Hampshire counties are all under a winter storm watch. Let's see. And it says points along the North Shore could see anywhere from 2 to 4 inches of snow, with 2 to 4 inches for the South Shore and South Coast. A coating of 2 inches of snow is expected on the Cape and the islands, and 2 to 4 inches of snow is expected in Boston, with up to 8 inches for the Metro West and Merrimack Valley. Worcester and points along I-495 and I-90 will likely see 8 to 12 inches of snow. The higher elevations in central and western Mass could be in store for 12 to 18 inches. Rain, strong wind gusts, and coastal flooding is also a concern with this powerful storm. Scattered showers, snow showers, will begin Monday afternoon ahead of the height of the storm on Tuesday. The worst weather will develop during the day tomorrow, with most of the snow sticking in Boston during the afternoon and night. Oh boy. Drivers will start to see some delays on the roads for the Monday evening commute. As the evening goes on, the rain and snow will fill in and will eventually pick up intensity Tuesday afternoon. Travel could be very difficult to impossible. The hazardous conditions will impact both the morning and evening commutes on Tuesday. Gusty winds could bring down tree branches, the National Weather Service said in an advisory. The storm is a lengthy one. We had one like this in 1993, right after my son Michael was born. And in fact, he was born like a month earlier, and we had a tremendous storm that day, and we almost couldn't make it to the hospital. It was intense. Okay. Wind is going to be an issue with this storm. Gusts up to 60 miles per hour will be possible along the coast. Power outages will remain a concern with this storm. Charge your devices in advance. Okay, and that's what we have for that. Let's see. Little lighty. You just have a mass amount of rain. Very interesting. Adventures with that is Massachusetts, yeah. Wood, blankets, lanterns. Hi, Sassy Darcy. Okay. Let's can we do here? Let's see. Okay, let's see what happened here. I don't know why that, okay. Why can't I get in there and see that? Okay. Somebody posted this online, that they saw this doll in a store and it said doll with problems. Doll with problems. Someone, hold on, let's see what this says. This is so weird. Okay. Trying to see what else is over here that's supposedly funny. Not too much. Not too much. Okay, there's not really much there. Let's see what's in. Come on. Okay, here's something. I'm a 34-year-old female. I have this can't be, trying to see something. 5-year-old son. I guess a 5-year-old son who attends preschool. A few hours after I picked him up from school today, I got a phone call from his teacher. She made absolutely no effort to sound kind when she, in an extremely rude and annoyed tone, told me to stop packing my son such disgusting and inappropriate lunches. I felt absolutely appalled when she said this, as me and the teacher have up until now always maintained a very friendly relationship. She added that the lunches I'm packing my son are very distracting for the other students and have an unpleasant odor. I told her that I understand her concerns, as the lunches I pack are definitely not the healthiest, but the lunches are according to my son's preferences. The usual lunch that I send to school with is small celery sticks with blue cheese and goat cheese, kimchi and spam. We are Korean, and he absolutely adores this dish. And spicy Doritos that are marinated in sriracha. Can't stand sriracha. And hold on one second. I just lost my page here. I know, but he deserves a snack. And I don't put that many chips in the baggie. I ended the call by saying that I very much appreciate her worries, but at the end of the day, I am not going to drastically change my son's lunches all of a sudden. Okay. Hold on a minute. I just wanted to say goodnight to Luke. He's good. Oh, right there. Sorry. Okay. The teacher sent an email to me an hour ago saying my response was, okay, where was I? So I'm not going to drastically change my son's lunches all of a sudden, and that it's not my fault other students are distracted by his meal. It's very important to me what my son enjoys, and I want him to like my lunches. The teacher sent an email to me an hour ago saying that my response was unacceptable and that his lunches are just too inappropriate to be sent to school any longer. I haven't responded yet, and I don't want to. I want to maintain a healthy relationship with my son's teachers. I'm confused as what to do. Am I the a-hole? So is she or isn't she? You can put it down.
Ever smelled kimchi?
No,
It's
no.
disgusting.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
Like fermented cabbage,
Okay.
kinda. Yeah.
So like sauerkraut?
No. Worse.
I love kimchi. I'm in the tub, but I'm here. I love it.
What does it smell like to you?
It's like vinegary. It doesn't have a bad smell to it. It's just spicy cabbage in a thing.
Okay. Well, what do you think? What does the audience think? The audience. Let's see.
How old is her child?
5.
5.
Hi,
Yeah.
Boxy and the Boxy. Boxy and the Boxy says 3.
If they eat in the classroom and his meals stink up the classroom, I don't know. I think
Okay,
maybe
so you
tone it
say
down a little.
no. Margot says no. LMW, hi LMW says no. Kevin Leonard says true crime headlines started at the start of the video. Yes, they did. Foxy and the Boxy says 3. Mary Ann, hi Mary Ann says no. Julie W says no. Yum yum kimchi says LMNW.
There you go.
High 61 says some love it, some hate it. I can't decide. Ann Rose says, Little Lady says I love it too, but it does stink. Heart Made Wise says not the whole Not the whole, but kimchi does have a strong smell. It is eaten with pretty much every meal in Korean households.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so not the.
I'm not,
so
I'm saying she's not the a-hole, but she could adapt his lunches a little bit.
Emmy said maybe ask which foods bother them and adjust, maybe compromise.
There, that's what I'm saying. Exactly that. Oh, I just heard the snowplow go by. That's not a good sound. Or it is, depending on how you look at it.
Okay, my best friend's husband, Bob, my husband's close friend, was kicked out of his home for being an idiot and asked if he could spend the night at our place. We have a comfy pull-out sofa in our living room, which is where our dogs sleep. They had separate dog beds in the past, but they hated it, so they sleep on the sofa now. Because of that, I told Bob he can have the air mattress. He asked if he could sleep on the sofa. Instead, I told him no, because that's where our dogs sleep. Bob didn't like it, but accepted it. This morning, Bob was complaining about the air mattress deflating during the night and being so uncomfortable that he barely slept all night. I checked and the air mattress was fine. He also made some sarcastic comments to the dogs and me. Okay, my husband wants us to apologize to Bob for making him sleep on the air mattress. Am I the a-hole?
No.
Yes or no, chat? You can put that down. Check in a second. Wow, there was just a bang outside. Jimmy?
Yeah.
Why are there bangs outside? There's like two big booms outside. Ask Luke if that was him doing anything. Just ask him if he jumped or anything like that, because really, otherwise there's two big bangs. Like booms.
Luke, did you guys do any banging up there? A little bit? Nothing at all? Like, did you just lay down in bed and make a boom noise?
Did he?
No.
You better check then. Like a tree fell down or something. Okay. Let me see what you said
Let's see
here.
if I can see something anywhere.
Okay, you say no, Bob should be appreciative of spending the night. Let's see. I had to stop playing my game to answer this one. Oh, did you answer it, Norma? No. Okay, you say no. That's a rude host. Totally. Okay, so you say no. Most of you are saying no, 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 no. What game are you playing, Norma? Let me know the game that you're playing. Okay. Now, for a little context, I'm a female, 26. My fiance is 32, male. We've been engaged for a year and a half. He was born in Spain, and his family still lives there, and in the time of our relationship, about 4 years, have not visited the States since. I have never been introduced to his family, not even on a FaceTime call, which I always wished changed, but he wanted to make meeting them special. My family has met my fiance many times, and they all love him. We are also Dominican, so the language barrier with his family wouldn't matter. In February, my fiance's family planned to visit for about 2 months since it's been so long. I live in my own place, so they'd be staying with my fiance only. His mom, dad, sister, and brother-in-law all came, and they planned a dinner party with me and some of my fiance's friends and coworkers, more like a welcome party. I was beyond excited to meet them and finally announce our engagement. Hold on. Okay. The day came and I went over to his house. My fiance talked to me prior and told me his family is very outspoken, and if his mom says anything out of line, to not worry about it. He said this concerning our age, our cultural differences, and my job. I'm a special education teacher, and my fiance is a lawyer. I was kind of worried because I didn't want them to think poorly of me based on all that, but he assured he'd be there to back me up. The party starts, and I prepped everything. I cooked the food and set the tables. His parents arrived and see me and ask who I was. He pauses and says, I'm his girlfriend. I looked at him shocked, and he gave me a go along with it look. Beyond my better judgment, I agreed. The dinner goes on, and my fiance's parents make a judgment comment about the Dominican Republic where my family's from. I corrected them, and then she makes comments about my curly hair and how odd it was. My fiance said nothing, tried to change the conversation. Later on, it was brought up how young I was, and he says it doesn't matter. My job got brought up, and they said there's no way I can survive off of my salary. During the dinner, I completely forgot I had my ring on, and his mom spotted it and says, "That's not an engagement ring, is it?" My fiance gives me an angry look, like I was supposed to know I was playing girlfriend tonight, and says, "It's my grandma's old ring." I was fed up and said we have been engaged for a while, and he's lying to you for God knows what reason. I leave without saying another word, and I get a shite ton of calls from him. He said he wanted to get his mom's approval before announcing, and I told him then what the F was the point of engaging and getting engaged in the first place. I was pissed to sit there and lie to save his arse. He said his mom thought that was very disrespectful and immature. She doesn't see why I couldn't wait until after and talk to him. She completely dismissed him lying to her face, but that's not my concern. I left the ring in his mailbox and haven't seen them since. He tried contacting my family, but I refused to see him through until I get a true apology and not blaming me for this. Am I the a-hole?
No. No.
Okay, you say no. Let's see what the chat says. I'd be dumping that guy's family. High 61 said, run, girl, says Julie.
Oh, yeah.
Man, those people are super judgmental and annoying. Run. Okay, let me see now. No, Marianne says. Yes, they are being rude all around with multiple comments. She's not the a-hole. You're not going to get an apology from anyone. The family is probably happy you left. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me see. Okay, so I'm a 19-year-old female. My boyfriend's 22. We live together. We don't have much money, and we try to be as frugal as possible, but we each have specific things in which we decide to spend some extra money in. Mine is breakfast. I like having a good, nutritious breakfast, and it really does influence my mood, so I spend some more money on buying myself high-protein yogurt, granola, fruits, nuts, and orange juice to have breakfast every day. My boyfriend doesn't care as much as me for breakfast and doesn't even like yogurt and orange juice that much, so I usually make him something else with whatever was cheap at the supermarket that week, and he never has a problem. I have a friend who's 18 who studies in a city 1 hour away, and recently she came to visit for the weekend. She was our guest as we invited her. Everything was fine until Saturday morning. I woke up early and I had breakfast. She woke up a little later and said what I was eating looked great. I said, thanks. When my boyfriend woke up, I told him that they could make pancakes with dulce de leche, chocolate milk or coffee or tea. They could have omelets, oatmeal, or homemade bread with butter. And I thought that was an extremely vast amount of options, more than I normally have at home. I also had the morning free and didn't mind spending some time cooking, so I was willing to make half elaborate breakfast. She asked me if she could have what I was eating. I was caught off guard, but tried to explain in the nicest way possible that my breakfast is something I spend a little extra on myself because I really enjoy it. And I can't really afford to feed everyone the same. She frowned and said something under her breath, and I don't remember now, but agreed to have whatever my boyfriend wanted. Everything felt awkward for a couple of hours, but eventually we put it all behind us and enjoyed the rest of the weekend. She left yesterday, and today she sent me a paragraph saying, not sharing something like breakfast is greedy, and it made her question if she wants to be friends with someone like that. I wanted to apologize, but my boyfriend said not to because she was acting entitled. Am I the a-hole? Edit. I wasn't planning on eating in front of her. I just woke up early. Thought she wouldn't wake up for at least an hour. I now know, however, I should have just not eaten that day. I understand and will apologize to her. However, I feel like people insulting me don't understand at all what being poor and having one thing you enjoy for yourself is. I try to share everything. I just have this one thing I really like, and I spend a good portion of my income on it. I didn't ask her for 1 penny for all the meals. I fed her that whole weekend. I did have to budget to afford them. Okay, so is she or isn't she?
You have a guest, and they say that looks good,
Yeah,
and you have some, you offer it.
yeah.
That's the way I see it.
Sorry,
So,
that's too good for you.
exactly.
Lil Lighty said she would have shared. Julie W. said she's the a-hole. High 61, Sassy Darcy said yes, she's an a-hole. Kevin said no, not the a-hole. Hi said no, not the a-hole. Hi, Jen Grill.
I agree with you and Kevin on this one. I'm still here. I'm just in the tub. I agree with you both.
With who?
I don't think that she was.
Oh, okay.
I agree with Kevin.
Oh, okay. Norma says she's not. You saying she's not the a-hole, okay? Liz says no, not the a-hole. Margot says yeah, she's an a-hole. Not everyone needs to be invited to your breakfast, Kevin says. But what about if
No,
she
but when
asked
they're
you?
your house guest,
But if you're a house guest and she's like, "Oh, Kevin, that looks good. Could I have some of that?" No, I'm sorry. It's just too expensive for you.
no.
Because then she could be really petty and be like, "Okay, here's $5 Is that enough? Or do you need 10?" I don't know.
True.
Or what if she says, "Okay, well, we'll go to the store right after this and I'll buy you more."
Okay.
Emmy says, "No, be thankful for what they served you. You're a guest." Be our guest, be our guest. Heart Made Wise says she is the a-hole. Cursory said, maybe not an a-hole, but I would have shared. And Kevin says I would share it now.
I would share it too, but I don't think.
I know you would, Nicole.
Reminds you
Yeah,
of
I
Trunchbull when
definitely
she said
would.
much too good for the children while she ate the fancy chocolates.
But I wouldn't be upset. I wouldn't like. I would be grateful. I wouldn't be questioning what's being served to me either. You know, I'm not gonna do that.
You wouldn't
That's
feel a little bit
rude.
awkward, like if you just said, "Wow, that looks really good, Amy. Can I have some of that? I'd like to have that." And Amy's like, "Nicole, I pay a lot of money for this, but you can have pancakes instead."
I wouldn't be. Yeah, but the way you
But then
say
you
it.
tell me you wouldn't be in your car later thinking like,
No, I wouldn't.
you wouldn't
I
think about
wouldn't.
that if she said to you that this is too expensive for you to eat.
I wouldn't feel
Really?
anything. Yeah, really, really
You wouldn't even
wouldn't.
feel awkward about it? The whole exchange that
No,
she
of
even
course
told you
not.
that she even told you that it's too expensive for you?
Well, I would never even ask. Like, ooh, that looks good. I want some of that. I wouldn't do that. It's kind
Hi,
of.
farm wife.
I wouldn't ask either, but if a guest was coming to my house, and usually any guest I've had I know very well, and they said, "Oh, that looks really good," I'd say, "Oh, okay. Would you like this?" I just would.
And what the heck was she
I
eating that
agree
was so
with that.
expensive? What was she eating that was so expensive?
Who knows? She was eating
Yogurt,
some
high
kind of
protein yogurt.
special
Was that
yogurt.
expensive? She couldn't share some high protein yogurt?
Maybe some kind of truffle, could be that an expensive truffle.
Julie W.
Some
said she
type.
would feel so selfish if she didn't offer some of her breakfast.
I would feel bad. But I wouldn't do that personally. But I wouldn't say that they were an A.
Well, she
Oh,
would only be out one meal for the remainder of the
Maybe she
week,
thought,
and
well,
she
then
could have
Sunday morning
something
she's going to
else
want it
one
again
day.
too.
that's a strong word. It's a strong word. You know.
I don't say she's an a-hole, but I
Yeah,
think
you know
that
what I'm
we
saying.
should think about
We should do the right
fairness.
thing. If there's something available to some people, it should be available to everybody. I agree with that. But as the guest, we're looking a gift horse in the mouth. I hate to use that because it's so cliche, but we're already getting some. We're already at a party getting food. Why do we have to be picky about what we're getting? You know?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and I've always told my girlfriend, 26, that she needs to be a better driver. She can drive, but she's overly cautious. She takes longer than needed to look around when parked. When she stops completely for a few good seconds at stop signs, she keeps checking her speedometer and braking the moment she is 1 mile over the speed limit. Yesterday, she crashed the car and claims a semi-truck suddenly swerved into her lane as she was passing it. She lost control and hit the barrier. Luckily, it was not too bad, and the car is drivable and fixable. When she explained what happened, I told her I knew that would happen someday, and she argued, saying that it wasn't her fault. I told her a single vehicle collision is always your fault, and that if she had not overcorrected and slowed down gently, she would not have lost control, or even if she had hit the truck, then it would have been their fault. The truck did not stop. Okay. So is he the a-hole for telling her that?
She tries better than my mother-in-law, who drove with one foot on the accelerator and one foot on the brake and would use both at the same time. So
Kevin says she's a new driver trying to be careful. Chris Reese says yes, he's the a-hole. Cole says yes, he's an a-hole. The lady says yes. Jeannie's talking about life, says yes, he is. Norma says yep. Well, apparently everybody on the forum agreed with you guys, basically, because he made an edit says, seems like I'm the a-hole. I will apologize. I really meant to say, in terms of insurance, obviously I know the truck initiated it by swerving. Usually, unless an accident is really serious, police do not bother finding the other driver, and if the insurance does not have that info, they consider you at fault in terms of deductibles and premiums.
Yeah, I live in a no-fault state. It's not my fault. Not my fault either. Okay, then. Let's move on.
No fault states are pretty kind of crappy because those are the ones that have the PIP protection, personal injury. And yeah.
Yeah, well, we have PLPD, personal injury, personal liability,
Oh, okay.
and we add to it.
Yeah. You're talking about insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have uninsured and underinsured. That's pretty much the same thing. I think it's the same concept.
No, it's when there's an accident on the whole. I mean, unless it's obviously someone's fault, it's no fault. But they will put down that other driver was doing fill in the blank, you know.
Yeah, it's a little different. It varies from state to state. The laws regarding that, it's different. Like in some states, they don't even require you to have that kind of insurance. Like, you know what I
We
mean?
get the most coverage of any
State in the country.
state.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
My daughter broke her femur yesterday and was rushed into the ER.
Wait, what?
No, not my real
No.
daughter. This is
Oh
scenario,
my god.
yeah.
Okay.
okay.
All right.
I thought somebody was going to think that.
I got lightheaded. Sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Of course, she was crying a lot because of the pain. When she was on the actual hospital bed, 2 nurses came in. At some point, one of them moved her leg, causing her immense pain, and she started screaming and crying in pain. Both of them screamed at my daughter. They told her to keep her mouth shut because she was disturbing the other patients. They also said she was being ridiculous. I lost it at both of them. I told them to not talk to my daughter like that and that she's in extreme pain from breaking her femur. I mean, what else did they expect was going to happen when they moved her leg? They kind of rolled their eyes at me and left the room. So this is where I may be the a-hole. So I asked both of them not to come back. And today we had a different group of nurses who were 10,000 times better. However, at one point I went to the bathroom, and as I was coming out, I saw one of the nurses that screamed at my daughter yesterday, and she saw me and gave me the stink eye. And I'm pretty sure I saw her laugh as well.
Oh,
I walked
my
up to
God.
her. I walked up to her and said something like, I hope that one day you're in excruciating pain and you get spoken to the same way you spoke to my daughter. And then I walked back into the room. My husband, who was with me when the incident involving the both of them happened yesterday, is upset that I supposedly threatened the nurse. His argument is that supposedly, one, they were probably having a bad day and when they were just trying to get through their jobs, and that me threatening the nurse doesn't make me the better person. Am I the a-hole?
Absolutely not. I don't think so.
I don't
Can I
think
tell you
I don't
why?
think she's the a-hole for saying
She
don't
was
yell at my daughter.
advocating for her daughter.
But
yeah.
no, but still, she didn't need to do that second thing.
No, she didn't.
I was in that position when I had my accident. The physical therapist trying to move my leg, and I screamed like that, and there were shards going into my muscle tissue, and it hurt
man.
so bad. And I just understand, the mother
But
was
she
probably
did
worried.
tell them, but that's okay. She's not the a-hole for the first thing. I think she's the a-hole the next day.
For going up to the nurse the next day.
She
Yeah.
And what
already
did
told them.
exactly did she say the
She
next
said, I
day?
hope someday you're in excruciating pain and someone tells you to be quiet.
I
That's kind of wishing a bad thing on somebody. It's just not a good thing. Not a good look.
I would never say that to anybody, but I would definitely file a complaint with the American Medical Association, but I wouldn't say that to anybody. But I would file a complaint. That's awful. I would never wish anything bad on
Wow,
somebody, though.
you guys all think that she should have said what she said afterwards? The
I
next
don't.
day? Everybody here thinks that she's okay saying that the next day.
Well,
I mean-
I guess I'm the lone wolf here.
Well, me too. I would see that just even to me, it's just not something good that I want to put out. That like, I would never want to wish something like that on somebody.
No.
No.
I would. Was it the same group of nurses she said
The
that
same
to the
nurse,
next day?
yeah.
I would say, I hope you were never in that type of pain.
Right.
Ever,
that
ever,
yeah.
ever.
Maybe you could say it that way.
I would
but
have said it different. I would have said it a little bit differently. I wouldn't say the way she said it. It was almost wishing bad on someone. I
She
would've-
did. She did. She said, "I hope
I
that
would-
one day you're in excruciating pain,
I would
excruciating,
never-
unbearable pain, and someone tells you."
I would never
It's
say
more
that.
than one part on that question. Okay. Hi, Linda Uribe.
Gotta go
So
with
the
what
fir-
we got.
Linda would not say that part the second day.
Yeah, it's sort of a yes.
Julie
it's sort of
W.
a
thinks
no
she
yes.
was wrong. Okay.
I don't think it was
Lighty.
right to.
Exactly, Nicole.